Hello everybody, welcome to this week's Protection Update. Now I think this week was a very special week. Why do I say that? It's because we got back out on the road, didn't we? And we've had some fantastic road shows over in Cardiff and in London. Each session was jam-packed, both in terms of you, the advisors, but also content. We shoehorned a lot in. I thought the content was really, really good because it was diverse across all the different propositions that we do. But it was also weaved together because everything was about business development. I think there was something there for everybody, and obviously we want to carry on those into 2022, and I'll be able to let you know the dates for those very, very shortly. Shout out to Bob Scott, did a really good job of hosting those events. Remember, Bob had to come down from the northeast, and these train journeys weren't particularly easy for him to get back, but his energy and enthusiasm was infectious, obviously in a positive way. And best of all, I got to meet so many of you who I'd spoken to on the telephone, but we'd never actually met. So I'm going to give a big shout out to Paul Nunn, who I'd not spoken to before today. And Paul, you actually told me you've not seen any of these protection updates or podcasts, so this is your personal call to action to make sure you're getting your Friday protection fix. It was also amazing to meet so many of the rest of you in person, the likes of Roy Holloway, Craig Scott, and so many more, too many to mention. Superb. Now, I'm not going to spoil anything for those of you who are attending next week in Edinburgh, Manchester and Birmingham in terms of content, but if you want to grow your business, get along to these roadshows. It's going to be worth it. And you'll get fed. Now, from what I'm told, Birmingham is completely and utterly sold out. We literally can't fit any more people in the room, and that's for health and safety reasons. So we've had to close the bookings off for that. But you should still be able to book a place at Edinburgh and also Manchester. So I've added those links to this week's protection updates. So onwards and upwards, I'm going to see you all next week in Edinburgh, Manchester and Birmingham for those of you who are coming along. Now, last week you should have seen the British Friendly Protection Insight podcast, where I sat down with Adam Shipton and we had a chat about the breathing space product, which is an income protection policy, but without any financial underwriting at the point of claim. Well, why am I talking about a podcast that we released last week? The reason, British Friendly have just given me a heads up that they're going to be making some improvements to that product, which are going to be tested over this weekend and then implemented next week. Now, I can't get into the specifics because there is a very small chance it might not happen, but what I will do is do a proper briefing of all those changes in next week's protection update. And also, I guess I'm probably going to have to record another podcast to replace that one to include those product changes. Now, if you want to view that podcast as it stands, or any of the other podcasts that we've ever done, all you need to do is go to Protection on the advisor site, then scroll down, click on Protection Insights, and you'll see the full lot of them there. The full back catalogue of all the podcasts that we've done this year. There are quite a few. Now, next, I wanted to give you a heads up about Legal & General. Now, Legal & General are going to be running a 2-week campaign to help advisors get into the business protection market. They're doing this by what they're calling their boot camps, and this means they're going to be running a series of back-to-back webinars where you can join in and really get up to speed with this, what I think is quite a lucrative market. L&G are normally pretty good at this kind of thing, and they've come up with 7 connected workshops that will run over the next fortnight. These are CPD accredited, and each of them will last about 30 to 45 minutes. Now, the first one is a scene setter. It's a state of the nation piece where you'll get an understanding of the opportunity, and after that, they'll get into key person protection. Then key person income protection. Then we've got relevant life, which, to be honest, isn't actually business protection because it's not protecting the business per se, but relevant life is a good stepping stone into that market. Just remember, you will have clients who have these protection needs, and it's just about how we get into the market with a bit of confidence so you're able to have productive conversations. After that, L&G will be doing something on executive income protection. Now, that's a new product for L&G, and not many providers actually offer it. After that, we've got shareholder and partnership protection, and I guess connected to that session is the final one of the series of the bootcamp, which looks at articles of association and company accounts. That one is an important one to know about because the articles could say what has to happen with the shareholdings when a director dies or becomes critically ill. So there's some good stuff in there for those of you who are interested. Now, we're going to do our own business protection campaign next year, and we'll get into a lot of that detail within the network. But for me, this is a market that you have to build your confidence up to get really good at. That's not to say it's hard, because it isn't. It's still the same basic process. It's about identifying a financial problem that could happen if something happened to a business owner or a key person. So as an example, would a business loan need to be repaid back? Sometimes they do. They need to be paid back immediately. So has the business got the cash to make that happen? If not, a simple protection policy could provide the funds to tackle that problem. Another question might be, what about a person who is important to the running of the business? In other words, could the business suffer in terms of profitability if that person became sick or died? If the answer to that question is yes, then maybe an injection of cash could steady the ship for a time until they've managed to find a replacement. The big providers in the business protection market, such as L&G, Aegon, Vitality, Royal London, and there are a few others, they've got really excellent specialists who will help you get cases across the line. I always like to keep things simple. So, as a final piece on this, identify the what if, identify whether there's a financial problem, and then what's the ideal solution. What you then do is find out what they've already got. Usually, it's nothing. So it's ideal, blue sky, take away what they've already got, and that equals what the need is. As I say, we're going to get into a bit more of that detail next year, but if you can't wait until then, of course, jump on board the L&G Bootcamp, and I've put registration links in this protection update. Now, I do have one more income protection podcast to let you have before we start looking at other things, but we haven't quite finished editing a podcast I recorded with Tony over at Royal London, so we'll let you have that one next week. So in the meantime, something completely different. Now, have you ever noticed with Solution Builder that there's a link to something called LifeQuote? LifeQuote have got a range of services, and we don't actually have access to some of them, but one thing that we do have access to is called Apply and Manage. Now, I think for some of you, not all of you, but for some of you, this could be a very, very helpful service for you to tap into when you feel it's appropriate to do so. Now, I sat down with Gavin Judd, who's a business development manager over there at LifeQuote, to talk in a bit more detail about how the Apply and Manage service works, what it costs, and how this could save you a whole lot of time and effort. So the podcast is attached to this week's protection update. All you've got to do, click on the link and take a look and see what you think. Now, I just wanted to finish with what I thought was an interesting article I read in Cover this week. The article was called £230 billion of life insurance policies are at risk of going unclaimed. Let me just say that number again. 230 billion with a B, not million. Now, if you think about it, think about your own personal situation. How many people know that you've got life insurance? What about the policy documents? Are they easy to find? Does your partner know where they are? Are they in a safe place? Now, according to this article, it says that 18% of the UK population with life policies who were asked the question in this survey, they didn't tell their family members they actually had cover. Now, 18% doesn't sound like a lot, does it? But it is when you think about £230 billion worth of cover. It also said that 15% of policyholders had not provided family members or beneficiaries with the necessary information required for them to make a claim on the policy. It's an interesting one because, as people, do we really like talking about this kind of thing? I don't think we do. But there is a natural link there to the power of proper financial advice, but also reviews with clients, reviews on a semi-regular basis. And what I mean by that is just remind them about what they've got and what it was for. The article mentions beneficiaries, so I think we're talking there about wills, but probably trusts, and we know that people don't do that without your expertise. And using trusts is something that we can get involved in to make sure that the right outcome is actually delivered. Now, I'll add a link to the article in this protection update, and of course you can take a look for yourself. So with that, I'm going to sign off, and I'm going to wish each and every one of you a super weekend. And of course, as I said before, I really do very much look forward to meeting you at next week's roadshows if you happen to be there at Scotland, Manchester and Birmingham. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you soon.